Okay, now, no mockery about my eyes in the comments section. They're getting better and I'm tired of the glasses. So, anyways, today we're going to talk about the first trip I took to Pattaya. And although I'd been to Pattaya before, I had never really gone as a single man. I had, traveled with my family. We went through it to see some of the attractions and things. Never went to the red light district or anything, obviously, because I was with my wife and children. I didn't do things like that. So this is the first trip that I'm talking about that I came as a free divorced man. And one of the things I kind of wanted to go over is because a lot of men feel the same things and they feel a lot of nervousness, a lot of, they're not sure what to do. Even though there's a ton of videos out about what to do in Pattaya, the things, where to get information, everything else, it's different when you're there, especially when you come, anytime you arrive somewhere at night and you go around and your first exposure is at night, everything seems scary. I mean, I don't want you to sound like a wimp, but it's true. I mean, it seems you're out of place, and it's like in the dark, it's even more so. And I've traveled all over the world, and I always do that. If I get somewhere at night and I go look around or take a walk, everything seems kind of eerie or out of place. And then the next day, it's like, hey, this is a cool place. The first time I went to Bangkok, oh my God, I stayed downtown area, and all the businesses, I supposedly, when I was talking to the travel agent, this is like 25 years ago, when I was talking to the travel agent, supposedly I was staying in a shopping area. And when I went to the hotel, it was like 3 in the morning, and every building was like a brick building, had a warehouse door which was closed. And it's like, oh my God, this is a shopping area. It's like a slum. But then the next morning when I got up and went outside, everything looked brighter. All the businesses were open. The sliding roll-up doors that, are traditionally for a warehouse were open, showing the businesses inside. And it was a thriving business district. So what you see isn't always what you get. So that's the first thing. Take your time, because one of the things I've found is that men fall into two categories. Either they fall into the priest or James Bond. And there's a little humor in that. I was going to go with Genghis Khan instead of James Bond, but Genghis Khan gets a little rapey, so we don't want to go there. But they do. Either a man goes to Pattaya and has the priest outlook of, I'm going to go with my buddies, but I'm not going to do anything, in the red light districts that's inappropriate. I will go drink with them, but I'm not going to partake in anything with the ladies. And I'm not making fun here. It's fine to be what you are, and you should be exactly what you are. If you get to Pattaya and find that, the red light districts aren't for you, there are so many other things to do and so many other attractions. Go golfing, go on tours. There's all kinds of things to do. So you don't have to, if you get there and change your mind and go, nah, this isn't for me, fine, go do something that is for you. But of the men that come, there, like I said, the priest and James Bond. The priest comes and he says, I'm not going to partake, in sins of the flesh. And that's fine. If that's the way you feel, more power to you. Okay. Then you have the other 2/3 of the people which want to reenact being a James Bond, being a butterfly, or whatever you want to call it. Basically, having different women all the time. That's fine too, if that's what you want. But make sure it's what you want. And make sure you learn how to get what it is that you truly want. A lot of times, like I said, I'm going to go into this the way I did it, which is completely wrong. But I just kind of, it was basically, doing it the wrong way, but at least I was doing something. I didn't sit in my room. I knew through videos and everything else, the beach road was where a lot of the activity was at. It was where Walking Street was at the end and all this. So first stop after I checked into the hotel was Beach Road. And I'm walking along, and I swear to God, and one of the things you're going to do, in a lot of the stills, you're going to see, I love the one I just did of Soy 6, to where I did ChatGPT, and I kept, because I did, and I'll get to the explanation of this later, but I felt like I was sitting with the two oldest women in Soy 6. And so it kept making him older for me, and then finally got to where it was exaggerated. But that's kind of the way you feel, is because you are nervous. You're not sure what to do. You think that, things may happen to you. You think that people are looking at you, not, as being an idiot because you're a newbie. And they're not. They're not paying attention to anything you're doing. So do what's fun to you. But anyways, I started off on Beach Road. And I swear to God, to me, in my nervous, kind of never done this before kind of thing, I swear to God, every woman I thought was a lady boy. And when a group of ladies, there were 3 ladies that came up to me and started grabbing like they do, and flirting and everything, I thought they were lady boys trying to pickpocket me. So I freaked out, pushing away their hands and getting away from it as quick as they can. When actually that was probably the most enjoyable part of the whole trip, at least to that point. But I went through, found it very, I was very nervous. I wasn't enjoying myself at all. And I realized that if the only thing to really do on Beach Road is it's not really any kind of social activity possible. If you go to Beach Road, you're basically looking for a date. And that's the extent of it. You're going to have a lady come back to your hotel with you. So, I wasn't quite ready for that. So I had heard about Soy 6, as everyone does. So it's like, I'll go there. It's like it's busy, beautiful women. Great. So, I get a taxi, go over to Soy 6, and I get out. And when I get there, it's like so just overwhelming. It's like all of these beautiful girls, and they're all pulling at you and trying to get you to go to their bar. And I was so overwhelmed by it. I wasn't really looking, the smart thing to do when you go to a place like Soy 6 is take your time. And one of the things that I realized as I've gotten older and as I've gotten more experience is that the people on all the places I went weren't being any way other than reading me, reading the signs from me. I looked like a newbie. I looked scared. I looked nervous. And they looked at that as opportunity for more drinks, for more money, to whatever, to take advantage of me. Whatever it is, whether it's good or not, I looked like I was, I'm sure, ready to, be taken advantage of. Because it is, you're nervous and you've never done it before. So I went to Soy 6 and I started walking down. Everyone was pulling me and pulling me. And finally that guy, it's like, I'll go into one of these bars with one of these ladies and, and at least I'll sit, relax, kind of get my bearings and what's going on here and what I want to do. So this lady kind of pulls me in. I kind of glanced at her as she's pulling me into the bar. It's like, oh, well, I'll go. And then it's like when we got into the bar and sat down, we were right at the window. And I got a look at her. It's like, oh my God, I picked the oldest woman in Soy 6, which is what the title slide shows. She's pretty old in the title slide. She wasn't that old. That was my imagination doing the rest. But it was, she was not one of the more, because you're dealing with a place that has literally hundreds of absolutely gorgeous girls. And when one isn't, that attractive or she's old, she kind of stands out because of the beauty of all the others. So that was an obvious thing. And then one of her friends came over and hadn't had a drink all day. First time I ever heard that one. And hadn't had a drink all day. Could I buy her a drink so, she can make something for the day? And I said, sure. So now I was sitting with 2 of the oldest women in all of Soy 6. So finally, after a couple of drinks, I had the sense to get up, say thank you, it was nice meeting you, and continue walking. So I didn't feel real comfortable with the whole grabbing, pulling all the stuff. And then I was like, I grew up in a time where you don't touch a lady. You know, I mean, if it's your girlfriend, it's one thing. Or even now, if it's like a lady that's with you, it's one thing. But you make sure you don't accidentally touch a lady anywhere. And that's the way I was raised. And that's what you go out there feeling because you don't know any better. And so, you know, they would grab you and hug you and like put their legs around you and stuff. And it was like really uncomfortable because I'd never been exposed to that before. So finally, after a period of time, I remember a bar, just a regular beer bar that I had, you know, seen in one of the videos on YouTube. And so I went, got a taxi, and I said, you know what, just take me there. And so I went to this beer bar, a lot quieter. I liked that part of it, especially for my experience level at that time. It was quiet. Walk up, the girls were very low key. All of them were smiling and saying hi, of course, wanting me to buy them drinks, but it wasn't so frantic. It wasn't like grabbing me and groping me and everything else. So I met this lady. You know, I said hi. You know, I come over here and I'll buy your drink. And so we sat together. We had, you know, it was really fun. That was the first flicker of fun I'd had all night, not being uncomfortable. Okay. And so we talked and talked, and she, she was very pretty, very nice to talk to. We played games, we did all this stuff. But it's like, it was a real learning lesson because I think, you know, the bin got to be, I don't know, 6,000 baht, 6,400 baht, something like that. And I was, you know, doing the math. I'm like, oh, that's 200 bucks. And so, you know, it was okay. But, you know, I by that time I'd had a lot to drink and I was starting to feel pretty good about the place. You know, hey, I'm knowing what I'm doing. As I started talking about kind of wrapping up the evening, I asked her, I said, well, how much is your bar fine? Because I just assumed everyone, from what I heard, everybody bar fines, and that's the first step in taking her back to your room. And so she, you know, said, oh, I don't bar fine. And I started thinking, that would have been a nice thing to know about 6,100 baht ago. But, you know, I said, oh, okay. So I paid my bill, said my goodbyes to her, and left. And on the ride back to the hotel, I felt so, it's like I always joke. Now I make comments about guys that, you know, they're on Beach Road or they're in a beer bar or somewhere and they don't get a girl, you know, and it's like, you don't get laid in a brothel. You made some bad choices along the way, but that's the way I felt. It's like, I just spent, you know, $220 for her and all of the, you know, missteps in all the places I went. And I went back to the hotel and I just kind of felt like, oof. And it's probably the way a lot of guys feel because they feel disappointed because they're thinking they're going to be James Bond and have a beautiful woman on their arm as they sashay back into their hotel and have an evening of a lifetime. And they end up, you know, kind of drunk and, you know, with nobody and feeling lonely. So, you know, there is a lot of disappointment there. Now, there are two things I will tell you. Because what happened to me on my first trip happens to some degree, in one way or another, to most guys that come in. Because very few guys, unless they're going with guys who have gone before and know what to do, okay? If they're going by themselves, they're just divorced or they just feel lonely and they want to go or just want a vacation on their own, whatever. They feel that, you know, that kind of isolation. They feel out of place because there's nowhere in the world like Pattaya that you've ever been. I almost can guarantee. Maybe a few guys have, but you know, it is very unique and you have to get used to it. So if I were to do it differently, if I was to leave a message for my younger self about what to do or have a suggestion for you, okay? If you're the priest, okay, and you're not going to partake in red light activities, but you want to join your friends and you want to go drinking and have fun, what I would look for, seriously, is a bar crawl, okay? A bar crawl. Now, I've gone on the one by Buzz and Pattaya. Michael is the bar manager. Young guy, really nice, very helpful. He runs, I think it's Mondays and Fridays, and they get a bot bus or two, depending on how many people there are. And you go around to different bars. Each bar you go into, I think you get a shot. And, they have girls inside for each guy usually. And, you talk to a lady and you stay there for a period of time. You can, if you want to, stay. The bus won't wait for you, but you can stay if you meet a lady that you want to spend time with. They just get a taxi to take you back to your hotel, which is what I did, but unexpectedly. But it is a very good way to be exposed to bars where they're at, the ones you like to go back to, and meet some really nice guys. I met some really cool guys on the trip, and it was a lot of fun. But if I were starting off from scratch, that's what I would do. Probably the first night, I wouldn't. I wouldn't do anything more than that because it is overwhelming. But I would go see what's going on with the bar crawl and have fun with it. And it gets you kind of to relax, and so you can start being yourself. The second thing, if I wanted to be James Bond, okay, I would go to one of the gentlemen's clubs. Now, I've talked a lot about gentlemen's clubs in some of my videos, but a gentlemen's club is a complete entertainment venue, you might say, to where there is no, when you go into a beer bar, when you go into a go-go and things like that, there are a lot of things that can happen to where you end up not getting, whatever your ultimate goal is for the evening, it might not happen because you're dealing with, all of the girls, all of the people that work there all have options, and their option may not be your option. So it may not happen, whatever you're thinking of. With a gentleman's club, you go in, if you just explain to them, it's like, I've never been here before. How does it all work? The girl that you have picked for, that you're attracted to and want to talk with and sit with and have drinks with, will tell you exactly what happens. They typically have drink specials to where at certain things, like buy 3 shots of tequila, it's a certain amount of money and certain things happen. And I'll leave those things to you for you to find out when you ask her. You buy 7 shots of tequila, other things happen. There are sitting areas that are out in the open, which you can sit and have a drink with a lady. It doesn't cost anything. There are couches which have curtains for privacy that you can rent. And if that doesn't give you enough privacy, they have rooms upstairs. But everything is contained in that building. If you are in the mindset that you want to be James Bond and you want to be certain that your James Bondish fantasies come true, then a gentleman's club is for you, because no one is going to ever say, I don't bar fine, or I don't bar fine tonight, or anything like that. What you start with is, the end comes and it's what they said. And so if you want to make sure that your James Bond fantasies come through, a gentleman's club is the place to go. So that's one of the things that, when you come to Pattaya, make sure that you do things you are comfortable with and you want to do. Don't try to do something because you think somebody else wants to. If you're with friends and they want to go do things that you don't like, I see a lot of guys they go into Russian bars that are very expensive, and you travel halfway across the world to, spend time with Thai ladies, and you end up in a Russian bar spending more money. That makes sense. But, ping pong shows, all these things, they're what guys usually get other guys to do or into. So, take your time, but always, kind of take your time and do the things that get you what you want, whatever that is. As long as it's legal and doesn't hurt anyone, you're fine. So, I wish you luck. If this is your first trip and you want to contact me, my email address is beginning at the end of the video. If you've enjoyed the video, then like and subscribe. Good luck.